everyone, good day and welcome to today's market colors session. I see a couple of us are already online. Good morning, good morning. It is so amazing to have all of us here. In today's session, we're going to be doing a very detailed analysis on commodity currencies, which include USD CAD, NZUSD, and AUDUSD, after which we're going to also look at indices, that's US 30, NAS 100, and touch also a bit on fundamentals. So for together, leave an emoji for me in the chat box and let's proceed and get into the business of the day. So I'm going to be starting with NZUSD, but before I do, I would like to implore that you please share this link with one or two people you know would benefit from this session. It is absolutely free, so they should join us and see how we look at the market and tell the story of the market together. All right. Okay, so without wasting much more time, let's get into the business of the day. Now, I'm sure you can see the charts and you see that some levels were marked since last week, Thursday, and they are still very much on the chart. We have marked out certain level points we wanted to see price retrace into, so we could continue the overall move. I'm going to go on the H1 time frame so you see it clearly. This was our first point of interest, 0.60343 on NZUSD, where we wanted to see price retrace into, so we could start to look for, confirmations to continue buying NU. But price did not retrace fully into that point of interest. Instead, it traded into this zone, which happens to be a 4-hour fair value gap. If you're using market structure, price action, price retraced into this fair value gap, and then just continue. There's even two confluences that it saw. There was a previous resistance that became current support and in confluence with the fair value gap. So we traded into that zone and we saw the reaction upward. But am I still maintaining my point of interest? Yes, I am, right? So I'm still going to be maintaining this, even though it looks like price has done somewhere about 24 to 25 pips on NU. I'm still going to be waiting for price to retrace into these different points of interest that I have, because I would prefer to buy low, right? I don't want to start buying at the top. I always want to buy low at every point in time. So yes, my levels are still being maintained. 0.60343, 0.59581. I'm going to take out these other points of interest because it is now invalidated to me. So I'm going to delete these and maintain the other two. 60343 and 59581 are still points of interest that I'm watching out for on NZUSD to look for entries and continue the move upward. Is this clear? If it's clear, leave an emoji for me in the chat box before I proceed into the next asset class. Johnson, Colade, Matt Arthur, Obongo Fon. I hope I pronounced that right. Usong, Silas, Sylvester, Umiun, Umar Sani, User Win Ebi. All right, perfect. Thank you for that. Okay, thank you for that feedback. Now I can proceed. So what am I now waiting for on NZUSD? Price to retrace into these zones, and then I'll look for confirmation. Remember that confirmations is what gives us the extra confidence to take certain trades and not just setting limits at these particular levels, especially using our all-weather strategy, which is indicator-based. We want to see confirmations around these zones, and then we'll continue to buy. So is it possible that price would retrace into this level and this level would not hold? It is very possible. If we do not see our confirmations at these zones, we're not going to be taking any buy position regardless. But if our confirmations are met, then we know what to do. If price eventually trades into this zone, violates this zone and breaks the downside, then we know that it is targeting the next point of interest, which is all the way down here. Now this is on the higher time frame. Let me go down to the M5 and mark out other points of interest that I'm watching out for on this level. I know we all don't have the indicators. What you want to do is to take note of the price points that I am drawing my POIs at, and do that on your own charts. When price gets into those zones, you want to look for confirmation and take advantage of this analysis. So not having the indicator does not stop you from taking advantage of what we are looking at together. I hope that's clear. So I'm going to call out specific price points again for the sake of those of us that are not students of the VFT Academy or students of Value Flow have the indicators. It comes with our Forex Bootcamp course. Okay. So I have now marked out yesterday's high, yesterday's low, day before yesterday's low, and day before yesterday's high. These are levels I've marked out, and I'm waiting to see what price does. You can see that there's still more room for NZUSD to buy to the upside, and it's going to keep buying until it comes to hit the next resistance. The yesterday's highs and lows are basically support and resistance levels that we're marking out, or previous resistance we're seeing acting as possible support in future, and vice versa. That's why we draw them out. So price could trade into the next resistance level and trade lower. But if price is able to break above and give us a retest and a confirmation, we could start to, look for certain confirmations to take those moves, right? So yes, this did not fully retrace back into our zone, but we're going to be waiting. Although this was yesterday, and this is the zone we marked out from Thursday. So it is looking like price just came, it broke above, but never came back to give a full retest. Price broke above this zone, but that's fine. That's for NZUSD. Let's just look at what AUDUSD has in store for us. Now, AUDUSD was very precise, and that was part of the move from Thursday's analysis. You're going to see clearly price has been clearly to the upside, and we drew out again very similar to NU levels where we wanted price to retrace into. Do you see that? It was very, very precise. Price tapped into our first point of interest, which is 0.65026. You can see that, and it gave us confirmation, and we took the move. So far, AUSD has done close to 40 pips from our last analysis. Let me see. Yes, 40 pips on the dot is what it did from our point of interest. So it has now, this level was respected. Looking at today now, let's go back to the H4, because this move has already done what we wanted to do, and we've taken advantage. I took advantage of it. I hope you took advantage of that as well. So I'm now looking at H4. And what I'm seeing on H4 is a new sunshine has been printed, right? Sunshine has been printed, retracement has happened, our point of interest has been respected. We're seeing the buy move. Now, the buy could continue and keep buying until we see a new sunshine printed. Now, for those of you who did not take advantage of this first move, you're now possibly wondering, where is a good enough area where you could start to look for continuation of this move? Now, AUDUSD is a very slow moving asset class most of the times. So 40 pips is a lot on it. But if we're now looking for levels where you want to continue buying this, we'll go to the M5 time frame, and I'm going to do the same thing I did on NU, mark out those different POIs that I did, same old thing, yesterday's high and low, day before yesterday's high and low. Mark them out. So day before yesterday's high, day before yesterday's low rather, is in confluence with our H1 point of interest, our second POI on H1. So I've now drawn this. Price is buying, it has bought, it has done what it had, we wanted it to do. It is heading towards a resistance point. If price comes here and is able to retrace back into the trend which happens to be the same as the H1 confluence, that's 0.65026. This would be my point of interest on M5. If it is able to retrace back into the zone, I'm going to look for entries. And this is also our pullback zone. The orange indicator you see here basically serves as a magnet. So it will attract price to itself. It is possible that price will trade into this zone and then just continue buying without coming all the way down here. I point this level because it will be a safer zone to make my stop loss tight. If I take a buy from this particular level, I want my stop loss to be down here because this will now be my protected zone. So if I'm putting stop loss down here and my entry is somewhere around this zone, you see that the stop loss is wide, except I'm looking at targeting a good enough zone on the H1 to make the risk to return worth it. If not, it will not be a trade I won't be willing to consider, right? You always, in as much as you have a direction, you also want to put into perspective where your stop loss and your take profit is, and if it makes sense to sacrifice maybe $100 to make at the barest minimum 200, right? So yes, I'm trying to look out for levels that I think price will be trading into. Now you see that price has done a lot of struggle. I believe you can see this here. Price did a lot of struggle around this resistance zone. If price eventually breaks above this level, where is the next zone it is going for? Remember, price does not move based on vibes. It always targets liquidity levels. So if price is able to break through this zone where we're seeing all of these rejections from, then we know that it's going to be targeting the next level points, which is somewhere close to 0.66660, right? So if this is where my take profit is, then entering from this level on M5 would be worth it because my return it's big enough for me to give that risk, right? If not, I'm going to wait for price to return in here, put my stop loss at the low of the 3 days price action or price movement in the market, and then I'm going to be taking another position on AUD USD. Finally, looking at USD CAD, starting from H4 as well. This was also very, very precise. We drew out points of interest and price tapped exactly into our first POI, 1.37244, and look how beautifully it sold. How many pips has USD CAD done from where we marked out to right now? This is somewhere about, go ahead and calculate that. Over 100. That's a lot. So you see, this was very precise. Price respected that and it has moved. So now I'm going to go ahead and mark out same thing I did on NU and AU. I want to mark out the high, the low of yesterday and day before yesterday. For those of us that are wondering how I'm able to get the highs and lows of precise days, you want to simply Control Y, click on Control Y on your MT4 platform, and it's going to bring out the period separators and give you data for each day. So I have now marked out these zones. These are now resistance levels. I'm saying if price trades into the zone, give me a confirmation. I could look for sell continuation of USD CAD. If it violates the zone and comes into this level, I'm still looking for confirmation. And if my confirmation is respected, what will I be doing? I'll continue the overall move. This is pretty straightforward. It is the same thing we do every single time using the order. Nothing changes except we do tweak on strategy, but for your day-to-day trading, it's the same thing. It's very systematic and very easy, I promise you. So for those of us who are totally new to trading and you want to learn how we're able to look at the market, you want to learn how I trade, Demola, CJ, Cynthia, Nikon, these are different strategies that we use on the floor. All of that, most of them are encompassed with our Forex Bootcamp course. And after you take that, you can now decide to pick the one you want to stick to. We're only a DM away. You want to send us a WhatsApp message. Our WhatsApp number is 081 60 99 50 30. 60 90 50 30. I'm going to type it or drop it in the group after this market color session to be sure. Send us a DM and let's hook you up with the next class. It's done every month and registration for the next cohort is already ongoing. Okay, with that being said, let me know if you have any questions and I'm going to answer that before we move into the second half of today's analysis. Do we have any questions? Was this helpful? Tell me, please. All right. Well, without taking much more time, let's move into the next half of the session. Do not go anywhere. We'll be back in less than 1 minute. Cheers and God bless.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the second part of this market color. And we'll be looking at the US markets. That's the US 30, US 100, S&P 500, Dow Jones, NASDAQ, and S&P 500. All right, quickly, we had some anticipation last week. We're looking forward to some news that's happened, although not really juicy like that. But then, tap on the conversation between US and China. We're looking forward to that. That has happened already, but nothing really interesting came out of that the way we expecting. Instead, we saw the new issues around Iran and Israel, right? That has also been sending the markets to some very, very funny place. Not directly affecting the market, but investors are also, looking at what's going to be the aftermath of this, right? And then we've been seeing like a sell-off across board on US 30, S&P 500, likewise US 100, which is the NASDAQ. All right, this morning, price is really, really, beginning to appear a bit very, very dicey in terms of what we have. Structurally speaking, I still want to maintain our stand that we are very, very much still bullish, right? But then a lot of things is beginning to happen, right? All of this level we've marked out before. Now, but then this looks as if we've broken around this zone, but then what is happening now is suggestive of the opposite, right? Instead, we are seeing a sell-off around this zone. This is giving like a 1, 2, 3 for them, the market to send down those markets again. And I'm a bit concerned, right, about the price action, the current price action I'm seeing. I'm very, very concerned about it, right? Look at this candlestick on the daily time frame, If for any reason this guy switches to a sell candle fully, that would be a strong, push to the downside, right? That would be a very, very strong push to the downside because as at last week, it was still very full. So I was thinking that we might have something like this, a very bullish candle. Let me change this thing to green. Like a very bullish candle to the upside, covering, even in a way, covering all of this week. And then that will invalidate this other block to continue pushing to the upside. And then going to clear all of this high. But then what we are seeing now is a bit scary, especially from higher time frame, right? We have this first, I won't call it engulfing because it didn't engulf this fully, right? But then you have equal body size with the previous buy candle, and then this that is now beginning to reject this next candle that's forming on the weekly time frame, beginning to reject. If for any reason we see that rejection leading to something like this, then I want to believe we are in for a long ride to the downside, right? We'll be in for a long ride to the downside, which in itself is not bad, but then will be quite probably a retracement for it to continue to the upside again. All right, on the daily time frame, like we said, we have this going on, and then there's another block that's been tested before. This has been tested before. So the next liquidity level for me is price sweeping this temporarily. Let me delete all of this. If this sell is going to hold, price sweeping all of this zone temporarily, and then the next one is this, essentially this candlestick. So of using this, let me use more. Okay. This zone, right? So this is like a drawn liquidity price, going to sweep all of this. And also, if for any reason this does not send price to the upside again, we would see this as our next zone that will be cleared, right? And if for any reason this happens, then the assumption we have on the weekly time frame, what we wanted to see what have happened, and that will be a strong momentum to start buying, to start selling, sorry. to the downside. On the 4-hour time frame, what is happening? Structure on the 4-hour time frame is also very, very dicey because we've seen a break of structure here, and then the next point, which is this, price didn't actually break this zone. Price didn't break this zone, but then you're looking from what is happening so far. You see that the next zone after this is just below this, and we would see that sell off to the downside. Personally, I'm in a sell of one of these asset class. When I get there, I'm going to show us. But then I'm in a sell, but then it's not really looking nice because I thought we have the buy to the upside. So, but from what we have now, currently speaking, from what we have now, we might see price pushing up again, right? So using all of this move serving as liquidity to the upside, and then price bouncing up from this other block. That's another zone that can, give us that bounce of we are looking at to the upside. But if for any reason this zone does not hold, right? If this zone does not hold, then we should see a significant sell-off, right? A significant sell-off, which will violate. I mean, if this zone is violated drastically, then a return to that zone will just signify that we should continue the sell-off, meaning price comes to this zone and then just do a little bit and then boom to the downside. Then either a retest to this, that price retest this from this zone and start selling off, or just retest this week here and start selling off, right? So I'll be watching out for that. If for any reason you're not able to catch the sell from this zone, wait for price to react off of this area of interest. If we start seeing a bullish move, for me, I'll be watching out for this even on lower time frame, M5, M15, so that if I see that bullish move, that box pattern in the M15 time frame or M5 time frame, I'm going to enter that for a buy. But for any reason I'm taking out, I will quickly flip that into a sell, because most likely price is going to violate this zone drastically and then retest, like a weak retest, and then we use that weak entry, WICK, and we enter from that zone to the downside, right? All right, that being said, that's what we have on US 30 this morning. On the 1-hour time frame, anything happens significantly? No. Instead, we've been seeing like a massive sell of structure has been, microstructure has been, should I use minor? Yeah, minor structure has been very, very, it's beginning to be bearish, right? Look at these zones. Lows has been broken, seen several lows broken to the downside. So we might not be wrong when we see the market is looking very bearish this morning. Yeah, because of this low that's been broken so many times to the downside. All right, that being said, moving to the next one, which is US 100. On US 100, we also have the same thing. As we said last week, as I mentioned last week, we said this is looking very, very good for a sell-off, a bearish sell-off. But then as at last week, we weren't looking for sales. Instead, we're looking for opportunities to buy to the upside. And that's what happened, right? To buy to the upside. But then, as it stands now, with the current condition of the market, let me look on the weekly time frame. And this weekly time frame, this is even still giving us a bit of hope, right? Because this candlestick on the weekly time frame is still very suggestive that we might still end up, rallying to the upside. Or if for any reason this bullish weekly candle turns into, a sell, meaning all of these sellers are able to push all of this pressure to the downside, then that's really sad, because we'll be seeing, a massive sell-off. A massive sell-off across board, because this other block that will have, in a way, old servers, support will be invalidated. Price has already tested it the first time, and just below the other block, we have an inefficiency that we expect to be filled, right? So that's on higher time frame perspective. Daily time frame is still looking a bit, bullish, in the sense that we have an engulfing candle here, just on the daily time frame, an engulfing candle here, which engulfed the previous bearish candle. So we might see this sell-off as a weak, which invariably is going to continue to the upside. So we might end up seeing something like this. These are just, speculation of what the market is doing. End up seeing something like this. Forgive my candlestick. All right. So I end up seeing something like this to the upside. Let me turn this to a green candle. End up seeing something like this to the upside, right? Meaning price is going to start pushing to the upside. So that's what I'm expecting and anticipating happens here, right? But we don't control the market. These are just, mere speculation. Trading what the market is currently doing. I'm currently on a sell for US 100, that's NAS, right? I'm currently selling this because in as much as we have our assumptions, you don't trade assumptions. You want to, stick with what the market is doing. So let me put it on the 4-hour time frame. The 4-hour time frame, this is looking like a clear sell, pattern. And this is one of the concepts we teach in the FX bootcamp, meaning, price is going to, whenever price comes to higher time frame box pattern, you want to wait for the same thing to happen on lower time frame, right? But now in this case, weekly is giving us that higher time frame, and then we're coming to 4 hours and 1 hour to give us that bias for, lower time frame, right? And so, there's a sweep here and a break to the downside, and then structural liquidity, which has happened. The first entry was this zone, sold off to the downside. The second entry, which is this, is what I'm currently taking trade on, and then just looking out for how this is going to react. Still struggling around this zone, and I believe it's because of the 4-hour, this is serving as a breaker block, right? This zone is a very strong zone. If for any reason we see price breaks below and then move like a very strong candle, right? You have a very strong candle, then we expect that this will be taken out, right? All of these lows will be taken out, and then continuous sell-off to the downside, right? But then price is still struggling, and it's fine, right? And this kind of trade, what's it called now? Risk is very minimal, not the usual kind of risk, because I want to buy the US 100, right? It's when it's rallying, it's very great. But then during the sell-off, especially this kind of sell-off that is induced by war and all of these things, just one news from White House can send this flying now, right? Trump can come out by 2:30 and say they've been able to negotiate a deal between Iran and Israel, and you see everything facing the moon again. And that's a very scary place to be if you are day trading assets like this. So we want to keep risks minimal at this point. We know that whatever it is that is happening in this market now is temporary based on war. We don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know how the strength of whatever chaos they are bringing, Israel now, right? So that's the reason for my, position on this, and that's the reason for my, lowered or smaller risks on this kind of trade setup. So I'm currently watching how this is going to be. First take profit will be this zone here, right? Meaning price going ahead to clear all of this liquidity, because this is serving as, liquidity points, this and this, right? Equal lows. So price is going to send it down, and then from there we can start pushing to the upside. But then if it struggle for any reason to break this zone, fine and good. That shows that buyers are back into the market, supporting our first assumption on the weekly time frame that we drew, right? So that's been said, these are the two things I'm watching out for today. If you are not already in this trade, I would like you to just wait, and then wait out for price to really break this zone, and then retest the zone for you to enter to continue, right? Because this is already late to enter, right? You want to wait for price to break all of this zone to show properly that there is a clear bias for sellers in the market. So the break of this zone, then a retest will now give you the confidence to continue the sell in the market. All right, that being said, let's move quickly to S&P 500. S&P 500 is quite the same, right? With all of them, they have quite the same price action. In fact, I had the choice to take trades either on US 100 or S&P. Or funnily, I went for US 100 because it tends to move just personal bias, really, personal bias, right? They have almost the same price action, right? So it's almost it's the same analysis across S&P 500 and US 100, right? Although it seems that S&P 500 is moving faster than US 100 now. It's just one of those things that happen. I believe by 2:30 or 3 o'clock, where the New York market, New York stock market will be open, we'll see that volume coming back into the markets, right? Now it's a bit slow, but around this period, New York open, we'll see the volume again. And then either to the upside or to the downside, we'll know clearly where we stand, right? Because as of now, the market is still, dicey or looking as though it's in a range. But then by the time the market opens by 2:30, then we'll now, consider what is happening. We'll consider what to do with whatever it is that price action gives us. Right. Thank you so much. This will be like the end of the analysis. If you have questions as regards, US 30, S&P 500, and also US 100, which is the NASDAQ, you can ask in the comment section. Page Exchange is asking XAU USD, please you can watch this, what's it called? The replay of the analysis done yesterday. That's for the 2:30 session, 2 o'clock session, and then see all the discussion made on gold, right? It's most likely going to be still the same, right? Since nothing really significant has happened, right? So you can watch the replay and then use that to frame your bias. I believe it's still very, very much, intact. All right. See that we have no questions. We'll be reconvening by 2 p.m. again for the New York market color, where we'll look at whatever it is that's happened, and then if anything has changed significantly, we can look at it together and then realign ourselves. All right, thank you so much for joining this morning. Arinze Emmanuel Yuba, Ezekiel Inogold, Kolade, Obafemi, Opera, Silas, Tendency user. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again by 2:30 in the afternoon. Until next time, cheers and God bless.